Seen the hardworking guy running around back and forth between both the rooms, tending to the video cameras. He's actually producing discs of all of the lectures. So if there's a lecture that you particularly like, it should be available for sale in the vendor area, something that you want to maybe bring back for coworkers to listen to, or something you just want to watch Dan drink the beer and apple cinnamon crunch over and over again. You can do that. Or if there are two talks at the same time that you want to see, but you can only in one room at one point in time, well, there's a solution for you. Just buy the disc of the other talk that you missed. And we're live? Okay, we're actually kind of waiting for the speaker. So I'm stalling for time. How much are the discs? Yeah, so $20 for a talk. It's actually incredibly reasonable. And he has these things available almost instantaneously, or at least as fast as the duplicator can crank these things out. So you can pretty much almost walk out of a talk and be able to buy the disc shortly thereafter. So, and I guess we're getting ready to start here because we got our speaker back who does not have the drink in his hand, but hopefully it's...
They want money.
What do you want?
Diet Coke or Red Bull?
Yeah, but what kind of alcohol do you want to have?
Vodka.
Okay. All right.
I apologize. I didn't mean to offend your gentlemanly sensibilities.
So we're going to get started here. Coming up next, we actually have Beale, who's going to be giving you his spiel and eventually probably might let you know how he feels about his project in Linux, Bastille. So Linux is talking about OS X. Hey, just came up with that.
That was well done.
I'm sure I could have come up with a couple more, but time is of the essence. I've already kind of cut into your lecture a little bit. So, ladies and gentlemen, Beale.
Okay, so welcome to Discovering OS X Weaknesses and Fixing Them with Bastille. And I really am not going to rhyme anymore because that would have been really painful. Those sores would never heal. If I can do this throughout the entire talk, I think you guys owe me at least a round each. No, it's not going to happen. So, what I want to start out with is looking at OS X security, is looking at basically, what happens when I unwrap my shiny new Mac and I say, oh my God, I've paid all this money, but I've got this operating system that's beautiful, and they told me there was lots of Unix underneath, and so it was rock solid and stable and secure and all this. But my apps will also work, and I've got this awesome desktop manager, and I've been on a Mac for a few years now, and whenever I get a new one, or whenever I get the newest version of the operating system, I kind of do a little bit to check it out. And, it's definitely improving, but what I want to show you is some of what surprised me when I looked at it. And this talk was very much motivated by hearing about someone who got hacked at Toorcon and saying, why would they be hacked on the Mac? I'm sure the firewall's great. And I went and started taking a look at it. And what you're going to learn here in the first half, when we're talking about OS X, as it stands, is what I learned. And then after that, I'll talk to you about how you can fix it. Cool? Okay. So we're going to start out with the firewall. We're going to start out looking at the firewall. So, the first thing you do is you open up your new machine, and you're like, wow, this is a beautiful, beautiful machine. And you open it up, and if you're like me, the very first thing you do is you pop up a shell and you start investigating. Okay, and I start looking, I look at file permissions, and I look at, the firewall, what's listening on the network, and I say, okay, let's see what my shiny new laptop, my, very much client workstation operating system is doing and offering. Okay, so I open up my laptop, and what's the very first thing I notice? Oh my God, the firewall's not on. Okay, now this may seem surprising to you, but it's not. Maybe, I don't know how the Windows people feel about this. I think you guys actually get to laugh at Apple at this point because, you've got a default firewall on now. Everybody does, except for OS X. So, your firewall's not on, and if you all wanted to find out how many people's systems weren't on, we can look at the set of open ports that are standard. We can, go and run an Nmap scan against the entire wireless network. I'm sure Simple's about to start as soon as he finishes his drink. And we'll see, oh my God, it's full of stars. Okay, well, it turns out that in talking to people at a security conference, I went around and I talked to different people conference, including a lot of the speakers. And I said, hey, can I see your Mac for a second? And they showed me their Mac, and what I found out was about one-fifth of the speakers at a conference and a lot more of the non-speakers at the conference had their firewall entirely off, just didn't know that they had to turn it on explicitly. Okay, everybody kind of expects this thing is really on. If you've got your Mac out right now, go check and see if you've turned the firewall on. If you don't have your Mac out right now, check if everybody else's is on. So we can go and turn the firewall. Thank you, sir. Caffeine and vodka, very good. So anyway, we can go and turn it on. When we turn it on, I pop up my shell and I say, show me the firewall. And what do I see? Well, this is what I see. Now, I know not all of you read firewall ACLs, but you're at a security conference, it's time to start. This is what we see. I've made it a little bit easier on the newbies here. The part we don't like is in red, okay? So I can look over this, and the first line says, I let everything in from localhost. The next line says, I don't let in things that say they're from localhost that are really from off the network, and I don't let in multicast. And then I let TCP all the way out, and then I let incoming TCP that's established. But what do I do after that? Okay, I reject all the TCP, all the TCP connection attempts, okay, all the new ones that aren't established. And then what's that last bit? That's a line you never want to see at the end of a site. It says allow. Allow what? Allow IP. Oh, all IP. Okay, so this is what I've got as the firewall when I turn it on. Now you're going to say, Jay, surely you can configure this. And I'll say yes. Oh, unless you're on Panther. If you're on Panther, this is the end. Okay, a few of you are on Panther. If you're on Panther, this is the end. Your firewall doesn't have any kind of UDP blocking, doesn't have any kind of ICMP blocking. It doesn't block anything else you might call inside of IP. Anybody think they could have fun with that? Okay. You guys awake? Okay, cool, just making sure, Okay, so for those of you who don't have Panther anymore, this is good. You're on Tiger. The difficulty is until you click that little advanced tab on Tiger, you don't have any kind of UDP filtering. You don't have any kind of ICMP filtering. Now, I know some of the newbies in here are like, what's UDP? For a reference on UDP, please see Dan Kaminsky's past talks. Done. Okay, so you don't have UDP. Well, the weird thing is you don't have any UDP filtering, you don't have any ICMP filtering, and most of us aren't expecting that. Again, when I went and looked at the speaker laptops, when I looked at participant laptops, and I said, can I see your laptop? Can I see what the rule set is? They'd show me, and they'd be like, wait, there's no UDP blocking? I'm like, no, there's not. Well, why isn't there? Well, because that's an advanced feature. And they're like, advanced? It's UDP. I mean, it's, we get the TCP, we get the UDP. A whole bunch of fun stuff happens. DNS happens over UDP. Timesync happens over UDP. All kinds of really fun protocols happen over UDP. What do you mean there's no firewalling on UDP? Nope, there's none. Okay, so you click the Advanced tab, and this is what GUI pops up. Okay, this is your GUI. It says you're not blocking UDP, but it gives you these three options. The first one is, do you want to block UDP traffic? The next one, do you want to enable firewall logging? Always a good thing. Logging is good. Most boring area of computer security is logging, but sometimes the most instructive, especially when you've just been pwned. Anybody look in their logs, they see a long string of A's? Yeah, you just might be a pwned. Anyway, so enable stealth mode. There's this wonderful, okay, we're going to come back to each of these, but let's look at each one of these. So if we click on the Advanced tab, the problem I'm going to have is I'm going to show you what each of these things do, but the Advanced tab doesn't actually do what it says it does. Okay, the firewall doesn't really deliver what it says. Okay, that means it's either deceptive, means the GUI is either deceptive, or far more likely, it just means the firewall configurator designer doesn't really know so much about TCP/IP, okay, or security, or either or both. Okay, so suppose we were to click on the block UDP traffic box. What do we get? We get some bad rules. Am I going to make you read all these rules? No, I'm not going to make you read all these rules. It's okay. But here are some of the rules. These are the first ones we saw previously, and here's the new ones that have all been added. Okay, our firewall is doubled in length, but what's weird is that it's doubled in length. Why are there all these exceptions? We'll talk about the exceptions. I'm not going to make you read through line by line, because then you'd all fall asleep, and that'd be really bad. Okay, you're already drinking, so you're either going to have a lot of fun in here, or you're potentially going to pass out. I'd prefer the former. So what's the first thing? This is the juicy thing for me, and some of you are already configuring Nmap right now. Okay, this says the system accept any UDP packet as long as its source port is 67, which means it's a DHCP server, or it's coming from 5353. Say you're a DHCP server, you can walk right through all the UDP rules. Hey, that's kind of nice. You can attack any UDP service as long as you fix your source port. Nmap -G for all of those who are using our port scanner. Fix your source port scan the room, you'll be able to find the OS X laptops real fast. Okay, so what can you connect to what can you reach on UDP anyway? By default, this is what you get. You can talk to the NTP daemon. The NTP daemon? Yeah, the NTP daemon. You can talk to the printing daemon, cups. You can talk to Bonjour. And then you can talk to whatever else pops up. I've noticed that when I run Microsoft Word, it listens on port 2222. Okay? Normally that's, you know, I was talking to somebody else at the conference today, and I said, hey, Word listens on 2222. I'm not sure why, but it does. I'm going to ask Microsoft people what's up with that. And they said, it's okay, it's protected by the firewall. And I said, and you? I know how to fix my source port. HPing, Nemesis, Nmap, these all do source port fixing. It's very easy, heck, Netcat does. Okay, this is very nice. Okay, so I can get to NTP. There have never been any vulnerabilities in NTP, have there? Here's my list of the last 3, okay? The first one was a group weakness, not too juicy. The next 2 are remote overflows. Remote overflows. Gain root on the box, game over, thank you very much. Thank you for playing. This is my box now, not yours. Okay, what else? Okay, I can also talk to cups on UDP. This is really weird. I don't know why, but cups on TCP on these listens on localhost. On UDP, listens to the world. But don't worry, it's protected by the firewall. Okay, so we've got vulnerabilities. There are 32 vulnerabilities in cups listed in OSVDB, the open source vulnerability database. Shout outs to those guys. Now, you say, Jay, come on, how lame are you? You didn't bring any exploits with you. I mean, you know, at least the cool guys have those wireless exploits, and there's all kinds of, yeah, I didn't bring O-Day, or at least nothing that I'm sharing with you guys. But suppose other people brought it. I don't know if they did. Maybe Simple's packing? I'm not sure. You brought the right O-Day with you. There are a whole bunch of apples on the network. Believe me, I've already checked. Okay, you can walk right through their firewalls as long as you've got O-Day and the right stuff. Well, in anything that listens on UDP, you're in. Good luck, have fun. Okay. So the UDP blocking is pretty darn unimpressive, but let's look at one more thing. In that rule set, we had a default allow to cups anyway. There's a firewall rule that says, hey, we'll let you into cups no matter what. You can always reach cups. Even if you don't do that source port fixing, they already drilled cups. What they drill a hole for? You know, if I look at my configurator, I didn't tell it I was sharing my printer. I didn't ask for a hole to be drilled in the firewall to anything, much less to printing system. This is my workstation. Most of Apple's machines seem to be workstations, right? I don't know that they're really in the server market. Print servers, this should get turned on if I said I was sharing, but I'm not sharing, so what the heck? Okay, what else? There's a default allow to Bonjour. Okay, Bonjour is also Rendezvous. It's also been called ZeroConf. It's this wonderfully chatty, welcoming protocol that will tell you all kinds of stuff about a system. It says, hey, I've got all this stuff to share. And Apple actually makes really good use of it. Apple's amazing at usability. Their systems are so awesome, easy to use. They're so awesome to use. I love them. I adore them. Don't take this talk as an attack on them because their stuff's really great. I just want their security to get better. But ZeroConf Bonjour, we're going to talk about it, but there's a hole drilled in there. And you can't move